What does it mean to be gay? Picture it. Go on, I promise this isn't a trap. Really picture it. You're probably envisioning rainbows, glitter, and glamour. If you're a Juniata student, you might be thinking about Prism's annual gay prom here on campus. And you aren't wrong. Those things are all wonderfully, remarkably gay. But unfortunately, that isn't all of it. Allow me to offer you a metaphor. To be gay, trans, or otherwise queer is to spool a long thread of hurt inside of you. It is created from whispers, judgmental looks, and hateful legislation. It strangles your heart, and it sews your mouth shut, preventing you from speaking freely about who you are. Or at least that's what I thought for the first 2/3 of my life, until a classmate of mine made the bravest decision I have ever seen anyone make, and became a true profile in courage when she became the first person in my middle school to publicly come out as queer. In doing so, she exposed herself to harassment and danger, but she did it for the sake of authenticity, audacity, and solidarity. Let's call her Natalie, because while I did get her permission to tell this story, she would kill me if I used her real name. When I knew her, Natalie was 5'0" with an extra 3 inches in heels, and always had something to say about everything. She had many friends, and though I wasn't one of them, I, along with everyone else, noticed when she came into school one day wearing a pride pin and loudly proclaiming to anyone who asked that she had just started dating her girlfriend. I was deep in the closet and couldn't believe it. It was 2014. Same-sex marriage wouldn't be legalized in the US for another year. We were in the 8th grade, and as I'm sure you all can remember, middle school was vicious. If you had a thread, you were supposed to keep it tucked up under your sleeve, but Natalie didn't. Gay was a bad word, but she just endured everything. In one fell swoop, she went from popular girl to pariah, but she endured it all with a smile. Now, Merriam-Webster may define courage as strength in the face of pain or grief, but I guarantee you that neither of them ever had to scrub slurs off of their locker. So Natalie and I, and I'm sure some of you in the audience tonight, are adding an addendum to that definition. Courage is strength in the face of rejection. To be authentically herself in a school full of people that turned their backs on her because of who she loved, that is authenticity. That is courage. Stay with me here, because this next point gets a little dark. Natalie and I were never close, so I think it surprised her when I asked her why she did it. I was tired of not being me, she said, and I wondered if there was anyone else. That last part shows her true courage. She was the first. She had no idea if she would have any support, no idea if anyone needed her, and her coming out was not all sparkles and rainbows. It was dangerous. According to the CDC, queer youth are 5 times more likely to die from suicide. That means that by the time Natalie graduated high school, she had worked 5 times as hard to still be alive. That is 5 times as courageous as anyone else I know. And she did it just in case it might help someone. I didn't tell her at the time, but it did. It helped me. In case you can't tell by the everything, I am extremely gay. I carried a thread of hurt. Throughout middle school and the early days of high school, I was so anxious about my sexuality that I used to sit in geometry class trying to plot the angle of my death. I would wonder if a thread was enough material to hang myself with, because being dead was easier than being gay. I don't want to go into too much detail, though, because I don't want you to mistake this speech for an instruction manual. Queer or not, we all have something we've hidden away in fear of rejection. We all spool a thread inside of us. I don't want to be the person who teaches you how to knot yours into a noose. But what Natalie did was make a friendship bracelet with hers. She taught me and everyone else in our school that we could live in our bodies. To be queer is to spool a thread in isolation. Until one day, someone like Natalie shows you there is an entire aisle in the great craft store of life dedicated just to thread, that there are others like you who have them. An individual thread may be weak and hurtful, but with others, you can weave them together into something strong and beautiful. All it takes is one person to be the first to share theirs. Natalie's dedication to being there for others, even in the face of discrimination, that is audacity. That is courage. Can we be courageous, though, without solidarity? In 2014, we were only 2 generations away from the 1980s AIDS crisis, which, according to the World Health Organization, killed over 324,000 people in the US, a significant portion of whom were queer. Gay was synonymous with dead. That same year, when Natalie came out, I sat on the floor of a church while a kind-sounding older woman told me that every single one of those people was burning in hell. I felt my thread pulling me downward. And I remember thinking, an eternity in hell sounds a lot better than this conversation does right now. But then I remembered Natalie. She showed me and all of my closeted classmates, many of whom would come out years later, that it was possible to be both queer and alive. She used her experiences to create solidarity within our community. Later, her courage would fuel my own. After all, if she could walk through the hallways waving her thread in the air, maybe I could too. Maybe I could write a Bailey speech on what it means to be gay. High school ended eventually and we all moved on, but Natalie's courage still motivates me. In my junior year here at Juniata, I made the decision to cut off all of my hair and dress in a way that I would never be mistaken as straight. Juniata is a more accepting community than my hometown was, largely due to all of you, but that didn't completely alleviate my anxiety, and it didn't make my decision 100% safe. What pushed me forward, though, was the hope that I could be to someone else what Natalie had been to me. A study from UCLA shows that the mental health of queer youth improves when others in their community present as openly queer. If I could borrow some small part of Natalie's courage, I could make someone else feel safe. I believe that you all can too. Queer or not, we can all make the decision to be openly and proudly an ally, to wear our threads with pride, no matter what color they are, so that someone else knows they are safe to do so too. That is solidarity. That is courage. So let me ask you again, what does it mean to be gay? Well, it means a lot of things, but most of all, it means to be courageous. I don't talk to Natalie much anymore. We're Facebook friends, which to the modern college student means exactly nothing. But it's enough to know that she's doing okay. Despite the odds, she made it. And so did I. And so did all of you. Thanks to people like Natalie, the world is much safer for queer youth now than it was back then. The fight for acceptance may be far from over, but in this moment, if we all emulate just a little bit of Natalie's courage, if we make the brave decision to work together towards authenticity, audacity, and solidarity, we can teach future generations to weave their threads into something beautiful. To be different in any way is to spool a thread of hurt inside of you, but Natalie's courage reminded me that that thread can be woven into a safer, more accepting world. What will you weave with yours?